And all right, now that we have everything set up, let's go ahead and start creating our simple storage project in a professional environment. This is going to be the exact same environment that the big protocols use. These are the environments that Uniswap, Aave, Curve, etc., these billion-dollar groups use. You are learning the exact same tools as them. Additionally, for those of you who are interested in security and auditing, Foundry is the most popular tool amongst auditors. So for those of you who want to become security researchers, you're going to learn the exact same tools that the best of the best use. You ready? I sure am. So let's go ahead and create a new folder inside of this folder here. To do this, we're going to type mkdir Foundry simple storage F23. And then we're going to cd into Foundry simple storage F23. And you'll notice I hit tab there to autocomplete again. Now everyone's terminals are going to look a little bit differently. Mine tells me the exact path of the folder that I'm in, but I have a alias called video shell, which just shows me the current folder that I'm in. And I'm going to use that for the rest of the video. So if you see my terminal look like this, it means I'm at this location. Now, if you're inside of this folder, you can actually type in code and then hit a period, and then you should get a new Visual Studio Code, which is now defaulted to that folder. If you don't, you can also hit File, Open Folder, and select the folder that you want to open, which will also open up a new Visual Studio Code inside of that folder. If you open up your terminal now, you'll see that we are indeed in the folder for this project. And now on the left-hand side over here, this Explorer piece, we create a file, you'll see it pop up in the left-hand side of our Explorer. Touch is a command to create or touch a file. And we can go ahead and click it and type stuff in this file. Now, all these cd and mkdir and all these commands are known as bash or zsh or like Linux terminal commands. And we're going to be using them a lot throughout this course. If you want, it's a great lesson on working with bash and cch and Linux commands on the Free Code Camp YouTube. But at the same time, most of the time, ChatGPT and most AIs are actually very well versed in bash and Linux commands. So anytime you have a problem doing something, you can often just ask one of these AIs and it can help you out. As of recording, this one just came out a couple of weeks ago, so it's incredibly up to date. So if you want to get the basics down, it's only about 45 minutes long. I definitely recommend watching this so you can at least be familiar with some of the power that bash has. You can absolutely continue on with the course as is and just use AI to augment you, but for those of you who want to get more knowledge, definitely check that out. And again, the reason I have this -F23 is to let everyone know that this is associated with the Foundry 2023 course. But awesome, we can actually begin getting set up with our own local environments similar to that Remix VM that we saw when we were working with Remix. We can work with our own local blockchain and do a bunch of stuff locally. As you can tell by the name of this project and from what I was saying earlier, this is going to be our simple storage project, but coded with Foundry, which again is a smart contract development framework that's going to make our deployments and interactions with our code much more professional. To get started with Foundry, what we can do is we can open up our Explorer to see what's in here. Let's go ahead and delete hi.txt, move to trash. I'm going to do my video shell command here, which won't work for you, but it works for me. What we're going to do is we're going to run a command to create a new Foundry basic project for us. And if you go through the Foundry documentation, this is going to be basically this creating a new project section of the documentation. And if you want to follow along with the documentation, you can do that as well. But to do this, we're just going to run forge init like this. And we'll see it created a ton of folders over on the left-hand side for us. And if you run into an error because you accidentally have some files in here, for example, if I run forge init right now, it's going to say, oh, it's not an empty directory. What we can do is type forge init --force period to say, let's do it in this directory, hit enter. And it's actually going to give us an error because it's going to go, hey, it already has everything that I was going to do. So it's just not going to do anything. But if you have files in here already, you just add this --force piece. Now, if you get a different error about Git, Vasily is actually going to help us triage that. So take it away.
And we are getting this error, and this is pretty common, don't worry. The reason is because even though Git comes pre-installed on our WSL install, we still have to configure our username and our email. So we can just use these commands, change this one, my actual email, and now let's also configure the username. After we have these configurations, we can run that command again Forge init hello Foundry. And if we check this out, we have our first Foundry project, ready to be used with all the things we are going to need.
And let's walk through what we have over on the left-hand side here. So we have this .github/workflows file, which we're going to ignore for now, but we'll explain this later. We have lib, which we're also going to ignore for now, but we'll explain later. We have script with a file in here, which for now we're going to go ahead and delete. We have src, which is where we're going to put all of our smart contracts that we want to deploy. Right now, it comes packed with this counter.sol, which we're also going to delete, move to trash. And then we also have tests, which we haven't learned about yet, but we will. And for now, once again, you guessed it, we're going to go ahead and right click and delete. Source is going to be the main section that we're going to be working with. SRC stands for source. And you'll see in a lot of projects, this is where they put all of their main contracts. Test is where we're going to put code to test what's in SRC. And script is where we're going to put code to interact with our contracts that are in SRC. Git ignore is going to be files that we're not going to push up to GitHub if we push our code to GitHub, which is going to be really important. Git modules, we can ignore for now. I'll teach you about that later. And foundry.toml is a file that is going to give us configuration parameters about working with Foundry. And as we go along in this course, we're going to update this folder because we're going to update how we're going to work with Foundry. Now, for us to get started here, we're going to add our simple storage code into the src or source folder. If you close your remix, we can just come on back to the repo associated with this course. We'll scroll down to the remix simple storage, select the code base, and we'll go in here and just copy all the code in here. Come back over to VS Code, and in src, we'll right click, new folder, simple storage.sol, paste it in here and hit save.